Alright, so for this video, I have a very quick update for our first-person controller series. Now what I've done is I've taken my wooden figure model, which already had a rig, and I've given it some animations. I have a basic idle animation, I have an attack position animation, and I have a walking animation. And so let me play through these animations real quick. So there's the idle animation, here's the attacking position animation, and here's the walk animation. So now that I have these animations for this character model, I'd like to import this character model into Unity and replace our placeholder object for our basic first-person controller. And so here I now have my wooden figure imported into Unity, and the first thing that I'm going to do is divide up the animations. And you do that by going into the animator import options and dividing up the whole animation into separate clips. And so here I have all the animations divided up into their separate clips based on the start and end frame of each clip. I'm then going to click apply to save these changes. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this wooden figure model to our first person controller game object. I'm then going to turn off the ground platform of my model. I'm then going to turn off the capsule object, which is the placeholder. I'm then going to set the camera transform variable to be the camera of my model. The next thing that we need to do is we need to open up the animator window so that we can create the animator controller for our first person controller. We then need to create a new animator controller, and so in my project window I'm going to go to create and then animator controller. And we're going to call this basic wooden figure. Once we have this animator controller created, we need to drag in the animations that we imported from our model. So I'm going to drag in the idle and I'm going to drag in the walk animation. We then need to create a transition between these two states. So I'm going to right click on the idle animation and then select make transition, and then I'm going to click on the walk animation. I'm then going to do the same thing going from the walk animation to the idle animation. We then need to create a parameter, and this parameter is going to be a float called walk speed. Then with the first transition selected, we're going to add in a condition, which is going to be walk speed is greater than, and then we'll put in a buffer value of 0.1. We're then going to select the other transition and add in the same condition, but this time we're going to say less than 0.1. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that our idle animation and our walk animation are set to loop, and we do that by selecting the animations and then checking loop time. We're also going to want to make sure that we turn off has exit time for both of these transitions. Now what we can do is we can select our wooden figure model and we can drag in the new animator controller to the animator component, and then we can go ahead and test our project. And so here you can see that we have our camera and it's working with our character model, and we have an idle animation that's playing. Now it looks like there's a little bit of a glitch at the end of this animation, and that's probably due to a problem in the frames that I have selected for the idle animation. Yeah, you can see there's a little bit of a blip right there at the end of the animation. And so for now I'm just going to move the end frame forward a bit. And it's still kind of there because I ultimately would need to fix the animation itself, but this will do for now. I'm going to make sure that I hit apply. So the next thing that we want to do is add in some code for these transitions. And so I'm going to open up our basic first-person controller script. Inside the script we need to add in a variable for our animator component. So I'm going to make this a serialized field, and it's going to be a private animator, and I'm going to call it myAnim. I'm then going to scroll down to our player movement function, and at the end of this function I'm going to set our walk speed parameter. And you can do this by typing myanim.setFloat. We then want the walk speed parameter in quotes, and then we're going to set it to the moveAxis.y value. After this we can then save our project and go back to Unity. Now I'm going to play our project, and here you can see that as I press the W key, our character now starts moving forward and the walk animation is playing. Now the speed of our player and the speed of the walk animation aren't synchronized, and so we need to do some tweaking on the speed of the animation and the speed of our player movement. And so if I go back to our animator window and I select our walk state, I can then increase the speed of our walk animation. And so let's play again and see if it looks a little bit better. And it does, just a tiny bit, but it still needs some work. And so I'm going to play around with it for a bit. And so there we go. We now have an idle animation and a walk animation for our basic first-person controller. Now it's not perfect. I just did it really quick. But that's the steps that you need to take in order to add a character model and animations to your first-person controller. Now that's everything that I have for you in this lesson on how to add a 3D model and animations to your basic first-person controller. If you like this video, then make sure that you give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, then leave them in the comments below. And finally, make sure that you subscribe to our channel so you can be up to date on all our latest videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.